Tom the Tinner, English folk tales. This one is from Cornwall. Tom Tressiter the Tinner lived at Chianhorth, the house of the Ram, near St. Leven. Now Tom was a tin streamer, for in those days you still could sluice the back tin sand from the stream beds. But eventually all the tin had gone. Tom and his family fell on hard times. Tom had his wife to support his daughter. 16 years old she was, and the very image of her mother. So reluctantly, Tom said a fond farewell to them both and set out to find work. He had heard there was work to be had over in the east. So he walked for a day and he walked for another day, and close to sunset he reached a farm near Praise and Beeble. There, the farmer and his wife were kindly people, so Tom asked to be taken on as farmhand. He agreed to work for a year for 2 gold pieces. For a year he worked hard and he worked well. After 12 months, the farmer said to him, "Here is your pay, but it's been a hard year. If you give it back to me, I will give you something worth more than silver and gold." Tom thought, "If it's worth more than silver and gold, I'd best be having it." So Tom agreed, but what the farmer gave him was a piece of advice. A point of wisdom, he called it, and the advice he got was this: never lodge in a house where an old man is married to a young wife. Then Tom thought, "I still have nothing to take back to my wife and daughter." So he agreed to work for another year for 2 more gold pieces. For another year he worked hard and he worked well. After 12 months the farmer said, "Here is your pay, but it's been a hard year. If you give it back, I will give you something worth more than strength." Tom thought, "If it is really worth more than strength, then I'd best be having it." So Tom again agreed, but again what the farmer gave him was a point of wisdom. And the advice he got was this: never forsake the old road for the new. Then Tom thought, "I still have nothing to take back to my wife and daughter." So he agreed to work for yet another year for 2 more gold pieces. For that year he worked hard and he worked well. After 12 months the farmer said, "Here is your pay, but it's been a hard year. If you give it back, I will give you something worth more than gold and silver and strength." So once again Tom agreed, but once again what St. Leven the farmer gave him was a piece of advice. The farmer said it was the best point of wisdom of all, and the advice he gave to Tom was this: never swear to anything seen through glass. Then Tom decided that although he has nothing to show for 3 years' work, he would return to his wife and daughter. The farmer's wife gave him a fine slab of heavy cake to take with him. On the road, Tom soon met some fellow travelers. They were merchants, and they drove packed horses laden with wool from Helston Fair. They were going to Treen, not far from where Tom lived, so he was delighted to have some company on the road. That night they reached an inn. As the door was opened, Tom saw the landlord was an old man, but the landlady was a young woman. He remembered the first advice: never lodged in a house where an old man is married to a young wife. So he asked to sleep in the stable. That night, as he lay there, he heard voices. Looking through the knot-hole, he saw the young landlady talking to a monk, discussing how they had murdered the old landlord. But the monk stood close to the knot-hole, and Tom was able to secretly cut a fragment of fabric from the monk's gown with his penknife. Next day, Tom woke to find a gallows outside, for his friends the merchants had already been found guilty of the landlord's murder. But Tom produced a fragment of cloth and told what he had heard, so the merchants were set free, and again they set off on the road, with many promises of rewards for Tom when their trading was over. After a while, they came to a fork in the road, where a new shortcut had been made. "Come with us on the new road," said the merchants. But Tom remembered the second piece of advice: never forsake the old road for the new. So alone he took on the old road. He'd only gone for a few yards when he heard a hue and cry from over the hill. He ran across and found his new friends were being attacked by robbers. "One and all," cried Tom as he struck out with his walking stick, and soon they sent the robbers flying. Then the merchants continued in safety with many thanks and more promises of reward. So after 2 days, walking Tom got home. Looking in the window, he thought he saw his wife kissing a young man. His grip tightened on his neck, and he was about to burst in when he remembered the third advice: never swear to anything seen through glass. So he put his stick back in his belt, and he gently went inside to find it was his daughter, now a young woman, and still the very image of her mother, saying good night to her fiancé, Jan the cobbler. Of course, they were all delighted at being together again. But then Tom had to explain to his wife that for 3 years' work he had earned only cake and wisdom. To which his wife replied it seemed that he had earned nothing but cake. She was so vexed that she picked up the cake and threw it at Tom with all her might. Tom ducked and the flying cake missed him and smashed against the wall. As it did, so it broke into pieces. Out fell not 2 or 4 or 6, but 15 pieces of gold, all wrapped in a piece of paper. On the paper was written, "The reward of an honest man." Note: Mike O'Connor is an expert on Cornish folklore. A bard of the Cornish Gore said he holds the Henwood Medal of the Royal Institution of Cornwall, and his tale "Return to Lyonesse" won a British award for storytelling excellence. His research on traveling storytellers in Cornwall is put to great use in Cornish folk tales. Tom the Tinner is a classic. As Johan Chai an Oor, it is the only folk tale recorded in Cornish language, noted by Nicholas Bowson of Newlyn around 1669, or perhaps even earlier, according to Lloyd in Archaeologia Britannica. Also found in the wartime notebook of Edith Marks, storyteller and Holocaust survivor, it shows the resilience and cross-cultural significance of folk tales, even in the darkest hours. Enjoy this great story.